Have you ever noticed something strange? The moment you stop explaining yourself, some people become uncomfortable. Not everyone, just certain people. You don't argue with them anymore. You don't send long messages trying to prove your point. You don't rush to clear up every misunderstanding. And somehow, that bothers them more than any argument ever could. You stop arguing. You stop defending every decision you make. And suddenly, the person who always seemed calm becomes irritated. The person who always had something to say starts pushing harder. The person who claimed to understand you suddenly becomes frustrated. Why? What is it about silence that bothers some people so much? Carl Jung believed that much of human behavior is driven by forces people don't fully understand about themselves. And sometimes what disturbs people isn't your words. It's the fact that they can no longer control your reactions. Today, we'll explore why silence makes manipulators uncomfortable, how manipulation really works, and why one of the strongest things you can learn in life is knowing when not to respond. Most manipulators don't begin by controlling your actions. They begin by controlling your emotions. Think about it. Almost everyone has met a person who knows exactly which button to press. They know what annoys you. They know what makes you defensive. They know what makes you feel guilty. And somehow, they always bring it up. Not once, not twice, again and again. At first, it feels accidental, but after a while, you start noticing a pattern. Every conversation somehow ends with you explaining yourself, defending yourself, justifying yourself, or proving your intentions. And that's where many people get trapped, because they think the conversation is about understanding, but sometimes it's about control. The manipulator isn't looking for clarity, they're looking for a reaction. And every reaction gives them information, every argument gives them access, every explanation gives them another opportunity to pull you back in. Imagine someone knows exactly what makes you angry. The moment they need your attention, they bring up that topic. And it works every time. Now they know something important. They know they can influence your emotional state whenever they want. That's not real power, but it is psychological power, because if someone can predict your reaction, they can influence your behavior. This is why emotional manipulation is rarely loud. It's usually subtle. A sarcastic comment, a guilt trip, a passive-aggressive remark, a carefully chosen sentence designed to get a response. And the more predictable your reaction becomes, the easier it becomes to pull you into the same cycle again and again. Maybe you've seen this at work. A coworker keeps questioning your decisions. Every time you explain yourself, they find a new problem. Every time you defend yourself, they move the conversation somewhere else. After a while, you realize they were never looking for answers. They were looking for control. And the more you explain, the more power you give away. Now imagine something different. The same person pushes the same button, but this time, nothing happens. No argument, no explanation, no emotional reaction, no long paragraph trying to prove your point. Just silence. At first, they expect the conversation to continue as usual, but when the reaction never arrives, something strange happens. The dynamic changes. Because the pattern has been broken, the button still gets pushed, but the machine stops working, and that's often when the frustration begins. Not because you've harmed them, not because you've done something wrong, but because they no longer know how to control the interaction. They are no longer in control of the emotional exchange. And for someone who depends on controlling others, that loss of control feels threatening. Carl Jung spent much of his life studying what he called the unconscious, the hidden side of human behavior. the part people don't always see and sometimes don't even admit exists. Jung believed that people often project things onto others, their fears, their insecurities, their expectations. He called it the shadow, the part of us that needs control because somewhere inside, we feel powerless. Many people who manipulate others are actually running from something inside themselves. They feel powerless in some area of life, so they seek control somewhere else, usually in their closest relationships. In other words, many people don't respond to who you really are. They respond to the version of you they've created in their mind. And when you suddenly stop reacting the way they expect, that image begins to break apart. Now they're confused. Now they're uncertain. And what people cannot predict, they often struggle to control. When you stop cooperating with that dynamic, something happens inside them. They don't just feel ignored, they feel exposed, like a mirror has been held up and they don't like what they see. But here's what most people get wrong. Silence is not about winning. Silence is not about punishing people. And silence is not about pretending you don't care. In fact, silence can become toxic when it's used as a weapon. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about something very different. There's a version of you that reacts, and there's a version of you that observes. One of them gives power away, the other keeps it. We're talking about emotional discipline, the ability to stay calm when someone wants chaos, the ability to stay grounded when someone wants a reaction, the ability to protect your peace without needing to prove anything. Because maturity isn't having an answer for everything. Sometimes maturity is recognizing that some conversations lead nowhere, and some people are committed to misunderstanding you, no matter how clearly you explain yourself. Sometimes it's not a coworker, sometimes it's a partner, a friend, or even a family member. You spend hours explaining what you meant, trying to fix the misunderstanding, trying to keep the peace, but somehow the conflict never ends because the problem was never communication. The problem was that one person needed control more than they needed understanding. Think about someone who constantly criticizes you. You explain yourself. They find another issue. You defend your position. They question your intentions. You provide proof. They suddenly change the subject. And somehow, you're back where you started. Notice something. The goalposts keep moving. No answer is ever enough. No explanation is ever enough. No proof is ever enough. Why? Because the problem was never your explanation. The problem was that they never wanted one. What they wanted was continued access to your energy, and the moment you stop providing it, the game becomes much harder to play. The people who master silence aren't emotionless. They aren't cold. They aren't detached from reality. Most of them learned this lesson the hard way. They spent years explaining themselves, years defending themselves, years trying to make everyone understand, until one day they realized something. Not every misunderstanding needs correcting. Not every accusation deserves a response. Not every opinion requires your attention, and not every battle deserves your energy. The people who are hardest to manipulate are not the loudest people. They are not the most aggressive people. They are the people who are emotionally grounded, people who don't need constant approval, people who don't need to win every argument, people who understand their worth even when nobody is validating them. That's when silence becomes powerful, not because it's dramatic, but because it's intentional.